MediCircle, and you're watching Sweta Prashant Kumar here. Today, in our Empowering the Blind series, we are talking to a lot of people who are associated with blind people and who are doing very good job by having different NGOs to bring up the challenges these people are facing and also try out possible solutions for this. As we know that the World Braille Day is going to be celebrated on the 4th of January every year. So in this series, today we are speaking to Shruti Pushkarna. She is the Director of Programs and Communications at SCORE Foundation, which was built to change the mindset of people towards blindness and visual impairment. She's an experienced communications manager with a demonstrated history of working in the non-profit organization management industry and also in the media industry. Hi, Shruti. Welcome to MediCircle.
Hi, Smita.
Pleasure to have you here, Shruti. We all know that we celebrate the World Braille Day on the 4th of Jan. And in trying to empower the blind, we are having this series. So we will be asking a couple of questions and would be expecting information from you. Like the first one is, India is the second most populous country in the world and home to over 20% of the world blind population. Unfortunately, it is also home to the largest number of blind children in any one country. So how do you think India will be able to make the blind Atmanirbhar?
Wow, that's a very, very big one. Yes, the numbers are shocking. As per Census 2011, which was the last census done by our government, they count about 5.4 million blind people in the country. But the numbers, according to WHO, are a shocking 63 million. And I don't know when was that number last updated. And it's growing. And like you said, 20% of the global population is residing in India. And I know that the number of blind children in India has been accounted for and it's humongous and we cannot ignore it, but there's also a sizable percentage of blind people who have acquired blindness later in life, which is post 30. And that number is not accounted for. So we don't even know how many of those there are in this country. But I don't want to sound all gloom and doom. So, as far as making them Atmanirbhar, we are in the day and age of post-COVID, as we call it, right? And technology is the king here. Virtual universe is the new reality. And technology is a great enabler for blind people. Most people don't know that, blind and visually impaired people can work very well using screen reader softwares, either on their laptops or, using TalkBack feature on their iPhones or Android phones, and they are seamlessly connected to the mainstream activities. They access newspapers like you and I do, they access digital content, they access, they can, participate in education and employment just like anybody else can do. So to make them Atmanirbhar is all we have to do is we have to educate them in terms of technology, give them access to technology, whether it is the devices or internet penetration.
Sure. So in your opinion, can technology replace Braille? Because I was just seeing in this interview of Benu Zafin on TV. She happens to be the first blind IVFS officer of India to crack the exam using a software called JAWS, which is used for blind people. So, I mean, what are the benefits and challenges? Like if these kind of systems can be used and it is possible for the blind to crack an exam like IFS.
Oh yeah, if you will, there are in fact many after Benu Zafin also. A lot of blind people have made their mark in the IAS and IFS services now, and they're doing very well. The whole thing about screen reading software like JAWS is that, and I know there'll be people out there who will probably scorn at me for saying this, but I think Braille has outgrown its time. It was meant to be at that time. Yes. And it was great. It's empowering. Even today, if you teach the child Braille, yes, it helps in language skills, writing, spelling, etc. But you have to side by side introduce technology at an early age, because as much as we like it or not, Braille is still an exclusive medium. If a child is writing in Braille, if a person is writing in Braille, how is the mainstream supposed to process it? You know, so there are only blind schools, right, which are teaching you braille. When the child goes from school to college, which is a mainstream regular normal scenario, how do you communicate with your teacher? Where, how do you submit your assignment? With technology, it makes it very easy because you're again now typing on computer. Now there are refreshable braille keyboards that you can attach to a regular computer. So if the blind person is comfortable typing in braille, that's fine, but the output is digital.
Sure.
So I think we have to do a combination of braille and technology. You can't completely shun one and totally depend on the new one, because people will take time to adapt to technology. But I think this is the only way forward.
Surely there are benefits and both the challenges of digitalization of for the blind, but yes, we definitely need to grow and we definitely need to try new technologies so that the blind are not. I mean, we
You
are.
know, in fact, I would just like to add, Smita, the one thing that we misunderstand is that we haven't really understood what digitization really means for blind people. So it's very important because what happens is that we think that anything that's available on the computer, any file is readable. So there are a lot of official documents that have been issued in terms of guidelines during COVID by the government department, in fact, by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, which is supposed to meant to cater to the needs of the persons with disabilities, but they have issued them in PDF files, which are scanned images. And the screen reader doesn't read that. Only text to speech works.
Yes.
So we need to have that understanding very clear. And of course, the internet penetration and the fact that everyone can afford a device, that needs to become a reality.
Surely. So, Shruti, tell us what are the challenges faced by the blind or the partially blind individuals in India?
Uh, See, there are a lot of challenges. First challenge is like what you very well said in the introduction, our NGO is working towards is the mindset. So you look at a blind person and you just write them off. You think that this is a dependent person, they cannot study, they cannot work. All they can probably do is, sing or become a music teacher. That's completely so the biggest challenge is to wash that image. To be able to prove yourself to the world, first you have to wash off that stereotype, and then come to a point, if you have access to education, if then you make your way up the hierarchy and make your way up into employment. Now when you go to the mainstream forms of inclusive education or a regular job space, again there are people who are going to question, oh my god, how is this person going to use a computer? This person is blind. Am I going to have to make some special arrangement in my physical environment as far as my school is concerned or my office space is concerned to be able to accommodate? Is it something I'm doing it out of just corporate social responsibility? So those are the challenges that the person is up against, right? And if eh, and also there are some parents who also write their children off. So there are a mental attitudinal biases that the person is against. And if you happen to cross them, that at every point there is an issue of access, whether it is to the physical environment or to the digital environment. Like for instance, today, a lot of blind people like you and me are accessing banking online, and it's very seamless. It's very seamless. But there are websites which do not adhere to the W3C accessibility guidelines. And there are issues that the blind person will encounter and will have to take sighted help to be able to get across to that service. So there are issues of access. There are issues of access. There are issues of trust, that people don't, trust the potential. People don't recognize you as a part of the human resource of the country. They don't think you can contribute. They don't think you can be independent. That's some of the challenges.
Very much. So, do you think that the Indian healthcare policies are enough for the people with vision disability so that they can access the same benefits as provided to others?
There's a lot of good things about our policy and law as far as it's there on the paper. And in fact, Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016 is one of the most progressive acts this country has. But it all boils down to the education and awareness levels of those health workers or that staff or the implementing agent, whoever that might be, in whichever corner of the country. So apart from formulating policies, what we are lacking, whether it's the private sector or the government sector, it's actually about educating the last mile implementer on how to be able to interact with the blind person. so that the person can actually benefit from that policy.
True.
So the awareness levels need to be raised. They need to know that these policies are made to safeguard the interest of visually impaired people as much as of anybody else who's able-bodied like you and me.
Definitely.
So that awareness level is not there. In fact, they're not even, sometimes, you go to a hospital, if a blind person shows up in a hospital, they don't even expect the blind person to turn up alone. They're shocked by the fact that, oh, there is no caretaker with them. But there are a lot of blind people who are living alone, and they don't have the luxury of having to, take a caretaker with them all the time.
Yes.
And post-COVID, it's become harder. Everything with blind people is about physical help, about tactile, about feeling things. Now people are not willing to extend that physical assistance to you.
True.
In these socially distanced times.
Yes. So it might be more difficult for them to have, get their things done, because a lot of privileged people may be having these caretakers along with them, but if there are a lot of people who are actually doing everything on their own, and there's nobody
Exactly. So public transportation, a lot of people have actually lost their traditional jobs because commuting to work has become a hassle post-COVID, right?
True.
I mean, it's actually scary. I have not taken public transport since COVID struck.
Yeah. Yes.
But some people just don't have a choice.
Yes, that is actually the question of choice and affordability, that whether the person can actually afford that thing or not.
Exactly.
So thank you so much, Shruti, for joining us for this quick chat on this Empowering the Blind series. I think we definitely look, after talking to you, I think we definitely look to change the perspective and the approach towards blind. So rather writing them off, or rather feeling them like neglected or something, we should be empowering them and making sure that they have these accesses to systems, to information, and not treat them as handicapped or something and they can't do anything. So I think it's time.
We don't have to offer they don't need sympathy. They need our empathy. Yes. And they need the adequate support, which is their right as much as the right of any other citizen in this country. Sure. They need to be enablers.
Sure. So it was really an eye-opener for many people and my audiences also, who are, coming across these kind of conditions and situations. Because see, we are really privileged that we can see this world through our eyes. But it is, at the same time, it is our duty to offer a helping hand to all those who are not so much privileged, and to do our part is really, it's a need of the hour.
Absolutely, all of us need to pitch in.
Sure. So once again, thanks, Shruti, for joining us. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you for having me, Smita. Thank you.